So here I'll give a very quick overview of the changes that we've made to the free upgrade in Scrapbook Artist. The first thing that you'll notice is that it has a new logo, but other than that, let's get under the skin of it a bit. If I start with a blank page, it now brings up a brand new DigiKit Manager, and this makes it much easier to see all the kits that you have installed, but it also shows you kits that are available for free from Daisy Trail, as well as any kits that you haven't yet bought yet available from the shop. Now if you want to look at a kit, you can simply click on it, and then that will then show you all the embellishments, backgrounds, photo frames, materials within that kit. So it makes it much easier to browse around your items. And now when you decide to add an item, when you click on it, you see it gets a green tick, and you will also see it immediately appear in the content manager down the left hand side. So I can add a few embellishments, select a couple of backgrounds, and as you see, as I'm doing that, it's adding it on the left hand side. But I think a particularly useful element of the new DigiKit Manager is at the top. If you choose, rather than browse by DigiKit, you can browse all items at the same time. And now I just decide the type of item that I want to search for. So I might want to look at backgrounds, for example, and now I can see all the backgrounds that I have installed all at the same time. But the other great thing is it now has much better searching options, and you can access these on the right hand side. I can type in any keyword here that I wanted to. Alternatively, I might just want to search for things like colour, so I might want to look for a pink background, for example, and it brings up any backgrounds that include the colour pink. And I can also choose on things like style, so I might want to look for a creased type background that's pink. And again, it shows me any backgrounds that I have currently installed, but it also shows items that might be available for free from Daisy Trail, as well as items that you can buy. Now I'm just going to go back and browse DigiKits, and I'll add the Robot Rust kit. Now if you wanted to add the entire kit all at once, there is also the button at the bottom left there, which is Add DigiKit, and that will now add all the items from the Robot Rust kit into the program. So now when we're in the program, there's probably just a few things to point out. The first one is that there's a new button here called DigiKit Creator. Now I won't go into detail about that now, we'll do a separate tutorial on that, but that's basically where you can convert existing items that you might have or other items that you've downloaded from websites into your own kits in Scrapbook Artist. Also you'll notice on the right hand side we have a new online tab, and here we can actually deliver you live feeds of things like new videos. We'll have things like news and other items in there as time goes on. So let's just talk about a few other new features. I'll just drag a background on. So I think the first thing to talk about is the way that Scrapbook Artist now tints objects. If I bring an embellishment on, like this for example, when you tint it now, and you can do that using any of the colours from the colour tab, you'll notice you'll actually have a much more realistic effect than what you did before. And that's because Scrapbook Artist now recolours objects using HSL, and you can actually turn it off if you like. So there's a button here at the top, colour using HSL. And if you turn it off, you can actually see what it was like before. So before, when we used to tint objects, it would generally get rid of a lot of the shadows and highlights of it. Where now, when colour using HSL is turned on, as you can see, it keeps all of the shadows and highlights, and it creates a much more realistic tint. The other cool thing about tinting now is that you can actually use the fill tool when you're tinting objects. So if I select the fill tool, I can then drag a line on the same way that you would do if you were filling a shape, but now it's actually doing a graduated tint. So this is going from brown at the top, and I might want to make that go to yellow, for example. So I can click on this bottom node and select yellow, and now I've got a graduated tint from red to yellow. And exactly the same way as when you're filling a shape, you can adjust exactly how you want this tint to work. And of course you can also add additional fill points on here for different types of effects. Now another new tool that we've added is called the Format Painter. If I just make this smaller, I'll drag a few other items on here. And I might also draw a shape. Now the Format Painter allows you to copy the format of any item onto something else. And this includes the way that you've coloured the item, any effects that you've applied to it, and things like shadows and what have you. Let me just add a shadow to this item here. So let's say I wanted to copy all of those things that I've applied to this item onto these other items. Now I can do that by simply selecting that item, then selecting the Format Painter at the top, and then click on the other item I want to copy that format onto, for example that. And as you can see now, that has straight away given it the same tint and the same shadow as that one. And then I can go on and add it to the other items that I've got on my page. Another good thing to mention is that we've also added a new quick shape. And under the Shapes tab, you have all the normal shapes that were available before, but you've now also got this new shape called a quick frame. And this produces a curly edge frame, which is very common, of course, in scrapbooking. As with all other quick shapes, you've got some little nodes around the outside here, which you can slide up and down to change some of the properties of the shape. So it does give you lots of different frame shape options. Of course, the other great thing here is that we've added that same shape into our scissor tool. So if I was to pick up a material and now wanted to cut a frame out of this, I can choose my scissor tool. Under preset scissor paths, I'll choose the frame. And again, I can move that around, adjust the nodes if I want to, and then use that to cut shapes out of any materials that I have. Another brand new feature is the way that you can recolor brushes. So if I bring up my brush tool, go to the brushes tab, I'll pick some glitter, for example. Now before, when you used to brush some glitter on, you were pretty much stuck with the colour options that we gave you. So we gave you blue, green, magenta, pink, etc. But now if you were to select the brush stroke that you've done, you can actually recolour it. So I might want to make this red, for example, and I can now make it red. And this is also very useful for things like stitches, of course, because before we only really had brown stitches, whereas now if I was to paint some stitches on here, I can then again, using the colour wheel or the colour tab, change the colours of those stitches to any colour that I want. Just a few other things to mention. Firstly, when you go to File now and click Send, it gives you some options to be able to send your scrapbook as an email, as an attached JPEG image or a PDF. If you want to email your scrapbook to someone, you don't need to worry about converting it or anything first. Scrapbook Artist will do that for you. We've also made some fundamental changes to the scissor tool. If I was to bring a photo on, for example, before, once you'd actually cut an image, if I was to cut the side of this image out, for example, once you had done that, you'd actually lose all the ability to add any photo adjustments or to recolor it or anything like that. Now though, whenever you cut any items, you still get all of the standard photo adjustments and everything else available to you. And one final thing to show you, if I just bring this image on again, is when you go to photo adjustments, we've got a brand new adjustment called page curl. And when you click on that, you can see it's added a page curl to this photo, and you've got various options here to change exactly how that page curl looks. And you can also, down here on the origin slider, decide which corner of the photo it is you want to curl. So you can have lots of fun with that. So as I say, there'll be more tutorials coming, especially with the DigiKit Creator, but I hope you enjoy the improvements that we've made.